That's it. I quit. Shortest episode ever. All right. Not go to the well too many times on that joke, huh? Welcome back to another episode of BestowCast, and I'm not quitting the show. I mean, evident by the length of time between episodes, you'd think otherwise, but no. I have something else I plan to talk about today for tonight's episode. All right, let's step into the Wayback Machine. The Wayback Machine, and go back to like August of 2022. I was doing pre-orders. I mean, if you're fans of the show, or fans of the show probably know this, but if you're new here, if you just joined us for the first time and you've jumped in right in the middle, you know that I've gone headfirst into the G.I. Joe classified line. Back, I think it was like August, roughly around August, give or take a month or two. I was doing pre-orders for a lot of the figures that were coming out for 2023, and one of the pre-orders was for Sergeant Slaughter. Now, I have a friend who is not a big fan. He's not really a collector of that kind of stuff. You know, that stuff to him is kind of a waste of space. And, whatever. Each person collects their things their way. But he's a very big fan of Sergeant Slaughter. And when I said that, hey, I'm ordering this, he said, hey, yeah, Christmas is coming up, that it saves you some time of looking for me or anything else, go ahead and pre-order a second Sergeant Slaughter. And I did so. I ordered a second Sergeant Slaughter. And now let's take a step back into the Wayback Machine. Now, wait a minute. Now, if the Wayback Machine takes you back to the back, takes you backwards, what takes you to show? Is it the Way Forward Machine at this point? Are there two different machines? Do we have to have a Wayback Machine and a Way Forward Machine, and they're just set in different time periods? What if you get to a time period and there's no Way Forward Machine? But anyway, we get into the Way Forward Machine, but it's still the Wayback Machine because we're not going to present day. We're just going to December. And, I give this Sergeant Slaughter as a gift. So they open the package and they get a little bit depressed about it. You can see that they're a little bit upset because this is one of the first of Hasbro did, what's called the plastic-free packaging. Let's try that 15 times fast. Package-free packaging, plastic-free packaging, plastic-free packaging, plastic-free packaging. If you don't know, they're trying to be more environmentally aware, and they're eliminating their plastics from their other plastics that are also damaging to the. I mean, I guess you don't throw away action figures, or you shouldn't throw away action figures. But I don't know how many people actually recycle action figures. What happens to action figures? When people are done with them, not non-collectors. Do they just go in the trash? Is that a thing? I don't know. That's something that being a collector, it's like, you keep everything. I know for me, it's like, everything has to be saved. I don't know about the other side of the fence. But yeah, they got rid of the plastics. And one of the things that included in getting rid of the plastics is that the cover is just solid cardboard and you don't see the action figure whatsoever. And my friend was kind of upset about this because he's like, like I said earlier, he doesn't collect action figures. He doesn't really have that much of a collection. And his intention was with the figure was just to keep it in the box and display it. And when there's just the artwork that's on the box, in some cases just the picture of the of what's inside. Here's a picture of the figure inside. It kind of takes away from that, where it's like, oh well, I could have just gone to Hasbro.com and bought the Sergeant Slaughter artwork that's on the box and just put that up on my wall instead of getting this thing. Kind of a bummer for him. I kind of feel bad too. And so we'll just step into the Way Now machine and come back to present time, and I'll talk about now from here on out, from now moving forward. So yeah, so Sergeant Slaughter is one of the first. I mean, I don't think he's the first. I think timing wise, he might have. I mean, number wise, I don't think he's numeric. All the G.I. Joe classifieds all have numbers on the side for all those people who are loaded with OCD and must have every single number. You have every single number, including things that are like the movie line and all these subsets and everything. They're part of that numerical order. So if it upsets you that you're missing a number, Hasbro's got your back to make sure that these things are numbered. But I think they pushed him to come out pre-Christmas, during Christmas, even though I think he's like a 2023, or he's supposed to be a 2023 release. Technically, Kamakara was, or if I'm saying that right, Kamakara. That character is actually is the first, I think, in the line, not counting the bigger figures. I know like a lot of the the 2-packs and the Viper, was it the Viper 3-pack and the Ninja 2-pack, the Ninjas 2-packs, the Duke and the Ram cycle, a lot of like the accessories and stuff, they don't have covers, but I'm going to count like kind of just the mainline figures themselves, not necessarily the multi-packs. Again, another one. What is it? Snake Eyes with Timber. The second release of Snake Eyes with Timber doesn't have a window in it. So, I'm just talking about like maybe the more so the mainline figures, not the deluxe figures or the special figures or anything else. So yeah, I hear it. I have it right here. Here, listen. This audio version. Here's what it looks like. I actually have it right here in front of me. So the past couple of weeks, I've been organizing my living space. I've actually been one of the things that needed to be done was I have shelving that was never really bolted to the wall. It was just kind of hanging off of the piece that hangs, but it was never drilled into the wall. So things were haphazardly thrown on there. I finally I knuckled down. I finally screwed the things to the walls so that I could actually start putting stuff up for display. And the first thing that went up was, I made sure that I could get the mainline Joes on the shelf, so that there was enough space to fit them. And that was the first thing that went up was the Joes. No, correction. That was the second thing that went up. The first thing that went up was a row of lunch boxes that went on the top. The second thing that went up was the G.I. Joes. And, Sergeant Slaughter was one of the first ones to go up there. It's like, oh, yeah, I want this up here. And I put as many Joes as I could on a shelf. I could fit how many Joes I could in the shelf. And I'm laying back in my bed, and I'm kind of, my TV's on the shelving unit as well, so you can look up and you can see the Joes, and you can wallow in your geeky nerdiness, and it's just like, I don't know, it's like everything up to there is. You can see the figures, you can see what's with them, and then you just see you see Sergeant Slaughter, you just see the artwork of Sergeant Slaughter, you see the artwork of Kumakara. Some other things I had on the shelf, I had like the new D&D 40th anniversary setup out, and it's just like, oh, you just see the artwork on the box, and it's just like, it's just kind of lame. That's just like, it's not as fun to look at. And like my friend had said, and I've seen like another YouTuber who said the same. He's like, I wish I knew the YouTuber by name or by handle. I would give him a shout out, but I can't recall. It's been a while. But they collect and resell a lot of stuff. That person on the YouTube channel had a store, and like they were saying the same problems as like when it came around to it. They stopped getting the vehicles and the playsets, because the vehicles and playsets never had windows in them. The vehicles and playsets always had just artwork or some kid playing with the toy or whatnot. And, they said pretty much what I said earlier. It was like, well, I can just print that out and have that up there. Why do I have to take up so much space for something that's going to stay in the box? So for that person, they just kind of eliminated that portion of the collecting, that portion of their collection. You kind of see where I'm going with here, right? You see the tie back to the I Quit kind of idea. Yes, okay. It just looked funky, and the boxes the boxes are smaller. They take up less space. I did open like the Ninjas 2-pack. I was just like, let's see what's in these things. And one of the things that I can praise the smaller boxes and the no windows and everything, the less plastic, is that there is a lot of space that's not wasted with what's inside. Because like I said, I have everything on display. And, it looks off where you got Kumakara and you got Sergeant Slaughter and there it's the art. But then you got everybody else. And then you got, like, say, the Crimson Twins. And the Crimson Twins are centered in the box. And then they have, like, a gun, a knife, and I don't know, a magazine for the gun. And that's it. And then there's just all this wasted space all around them. And, you know, I guess from an aesthetic point of view, like that's kind of a sticking point as well, where it's like, well, it's neat. I can see the figure, but you're like wasting so much space for, you know, what was essentially like just 3 weapons and the figure versus like so like the ninjas were they would have been wire tied, but they're not wire tied. It's like it's paper. It's paper that's holding them down, and then you just untape the paper and you unravel it. The box actually, they're paper tied to a box, so you could actually, if you wanted to, you could pull the box out. The box had the inner sleeve, I guess, the inner sleeve box, the inner box, not the outer box, the inner box. You could pull the inner box out. The inner box has artwork on it. So if you didn't want to remove the ninjas from the inner box, you could actually just leave them tied in and just display that as is. When you were tired of them, you could just put them back in the box if you wanted. They also had a nice little foot locker that's inside, and all the weapons are inside a paper bag inside the foot locker, and you just rip them in the paper bag, and you know whatever doesn't go on the ninjas goes in the box. Which is kind of nice. The box is labeled. It has their number on it. It has the names of the characters that is in it. I feel like the box is kind of big enough that I might be able to fit both ninjas in there if I didn't want, if I wanted to put them away, I can just actually put them in this Foot Locker box. So, I mean, that's kind of a nice aspect where it's like, it's not really wasting a whole lot of space. I mean, they made it smaller and more condensed. I guess like the idea that I'm getting to, or trying to get to, or getting around, or talking around, or just wasting time like coming up with a alternate label in the box collectibles versus out of the box collectibles. You know, if you're one of those people that likes them in the box, minting in the box, you can't really display these. Like it's just art. It's kind of blah. You know, it doesn't really look like much of anything versus when they're in the box and they have the windows, you know, you can see what you got. I mean, there's a ton of other reasonings why you shouldn't have a closed box, or theoretically there shouldn't be a closed box. Anything could be inside there. I could open up the Sergeant Slaughter and it could be Snake Eyes in there. Sergeant Slaughter could be in a million pieces. It's a Schrodinger's cat. It's the collector's versions of Schrodinger's cat. Schrodinger's, the action figure is broken and in one piece at the same time. So I guess it just kind of boils down to, if you listen to other collectors, if there's other collectors podcasts that are out there, or if you have friends that are collectors, the rule of thumb is generally sometimes like, if you buy things in twos. You buy one to open, you buy one to keep in the box. If you're new to this channel, you know, here's a new tidbit about that Pantsless Producer that you know. Other people who have listened to this channel and listened to Sleepless Knights probably already know this about me, but that's a really dangerous way to go for me. And as I get older, the funds get more limited and more limited. So it's like you can't really have a pair of everything. Mid-90s, Paul would buy a pair of Power of the Force when Star Wars would get reissued, and again, one to open, one keep in the box. And it just back then I was just like, am I just uncovering habits of myself? Is this therapy? Is this just a realization that I just hoard junk? But yeah, it just got to be too much where it's like, you know, I have a whole bunch of out of the box figures. I have a whole bunch that in the box. But also back then I had the mindset of, I'll sell these in the future and they'll be worth millions. They're worth pennies. A lot of them are just no more than what they were on the peg. So yeah, it becomes a dangerous game to play. So when it comes to G.I. Joe, and it comes to specifically the classified line, I mean, we're talking about, you know, what used to be $20 and now they're like almost $35 a figure, and then having to do that times two. No, not at all. And then you add on top that somebody who has a diseased mind decides that, hey, I'm going to have a YouTube channel, and I'm going to go in the direction of celebrating collecting in general, and I'm going to do all these unboxing things on the channel. So I have a lot of stuff that sits in boxes waiting to be filmed, and that filming day never comes because I just procrastinate too damn hard for it. Moving on, going back. Let's go back into the what now machine, the right now machine. So I had mentioned the Dungeons and Dragons 40th anniversary. They had released they as in Hasbro, because Hasbro rules the world and has every god darn IP out there. So if you are into collecting anything, you're giving Hasbro their money no matter what, and then Hasbro in exchange jacks up the prices and makes sure to bleed your pockets for everything that it's worth. I will put away that soapbox. So for the 40th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons, they released the ill-fated cartoon show that had Hank and Eric and all those guys. You know, that cartoon show that only lasted one season and was all so ingrained in our hearts and our minds that it only ever lasted one season and never went any further. Never in an age of reboots and retoolings, never came back. But yeah, Hasbro had released a series of these. Now right now they only had released half of them. With hopefully the other half coming out later on. I'm one of those that has fond memories. I liked the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon show when it was on TV. I'm nostalgic for it. I'm like, oh, I'm all for this. You know, I'm also one of those that owned the DVD. When the DVD came out, it was like 99 cents or whatever because they couldn't get rid of it. So I have the DVDs. Again, it has the boxless design. The artwork on the box is just a computer render of the action figure. I mean, we don't. It's not like, I mean, it has artwork. It had like it's kind of like if it was carded. So there's a card that sticks out, and the card has, you know, the cartoon artwork, but the carded bubble part actually just it doesn't even look like a photo of the action figure. It looks like a computer render of the action figure. And then the sides have actually artwork on it. Supposedly you can put them all together and they all line up and make a huge scene. So if you don't want to unbox these, or if you want to keep the boxes for later, it does make it all interconnects and makes a scene. I think the majority of them do that. I mean, the Joes don't, but the Star Wars does. Like, depending on what line you collect, if you collect the New Hope line, if you put them in together in sequence, they all actually line up together. And I think the Marvel line does that as well. I haven't unboxed this yet, of course, because again, I'm waiting for my laziness to subside and actually shoot this for on video. And I've been watching other people talk about their collecting and seeing stuff on Facebook, and this is horrendous. I mean, the figures are coming out of the box and they're broken in the box. They go to a store. I do know. I think it's like Pixel Dan bought a Hank. It was broken. I don't know if it was broken in box. I think they unboxed it and then it broke after they unboxed it. Then they bought a second one and it was broken in box. And then I think that they submitted a complaint to Hasbro. It might not have been Pixel Dan. It might have been another person I was reading, where, you know, they were complaining that, you know, you're making these cheap. You're charging like top dollar for these, and you're making them on the cheap, and then they come pre-busted. How they fix it is they sent them completely other random figures. You know, it's still part of the Dungeons and Dragons line, but it's completely other figures. And this is kind of where, again, this is the hang-up. This is the I quit moment of, you know, I'm nostalgic for it. I kind of want to make a little space on my shelf for these classic figures. I don't want a bunch of busted figures. And going with the line of, you know, I don't open these on a timely manner, I could get myself into hot water. You know, it's like when I used to have all the boxes and I was going to do the unboxing videos, and it's like, oh, I have all these boxes and stuff's busted and I'm never going to be able to exchange them. Well, the same holds true to these things. Like, if they're busted inside, I'm never going to be able to take them back to the store or whatever. The day comes when I finally decide to open them, or I finally, you know, we'll take the YouTube out of the loop and say I finally get to the point where I have an area where I can adequately display them, and they're broken in the box. or they're so damn brittle. I just going back to the Ninjas. Is I have a display set up for the Ninjas. I have the Ninjas and a little bit of, and Snake Eyes is in the background and everything. But I wake up in the morning and the Ninjas are on the ground because they just fall over. And it's just like, I don't want these Dungeons and Dragons dudes falling over. And next thing you know, there's arms broken and legs broken. And, here we are at the end of the podcast. And I'm finally looping around to why I quit. And, I'm not going to be able to quit the classified line. So far they haven't pissed me off that much to quit the G.I. Joe line. I'm still all in on the G.I. Joe line, but I think I have to kind of start picking and choosing now. With these sealed boxes, because it's some, even like I said, if I buy them for the idea that I'm never going to take them out of the box, well, they look horrible on the shelf. There's no reason to put them up there. As a matter of fact, going back to how I was talking about how I had the display shelf, I took Kumakara and Sergeant Slaughter off the shelf and replaced them with something that has a window on them. Because it's like, well, I don't want to look at the artwork. I want to look at I want to see the figure inside. So I ended up swapping them, and with this Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and there's a few other things. The Transformers kind of come. Some come where they have a window cut out in them, and you can see. There's no plastic in the window. It's just an open window, and you can see inside. But you can also see where you go to Walmart, whatever, and you can see people just rip open the box and steal whatever's inside. So that might not be a viable option. But some of the Transformers are like that. I'd gotten ceremonial Starscream, something I was super excited when they announced it, and it's in a windowless box, and it's just like, the Marvel stuff just looks horrendous. It's just a picture. It's just a picture of the toy. And that's it. There's no, I guess there's artwork on the side, but it's just the picture of the toy. It's like, who gives a shit? And it's just like, I'm going to have to start rethinking this, where I don't know. I'm going to have to pick and choose my collection, especially when you're jacking up your prices twice. They jacked up the prices twice. And now these figures that used to be $20 on the peg, and now they're closer to 35. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm going to have to start picking and choosing. It's like the Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, I want to finish the Dungeons and Dragons line, and then I'm pretty much out once I have them the core figures. And I know Hasbro's plan is probably we'll release one of the core characters, and then 15 of these other the other. Here's the lizard people, and here's here's this guy that only appeared in one episode, just so that they can string their collectors along who are just only seeking certain things, and then ultimately cancel the line and never produce the rest of them. I mean, that's the other fear is what if they cancel this line, and they never Presto and Eric and the thief, I can't remember her name. They didn't make those characters yet. So, there's always that thing where they're just going to cancel the line before it's even done. As I stand now, I don't even know. I'm nostalgic for the Dungeons and Dragons, but after seeing how they're kind of treating their fans, I kind of half-hearted want to just put these on eBay and just I don't want to. I don't want to deal with that. I had a space for them. I had a space in my heart for them. I had a place that I wanted them to be at, but it's if they're busted, and by the time I open them, there's nothing I can do about it. If I gotta sit here and glue them, I didn't buy a model kit, so I don't want to sit there and glue them together. I'm kind of torn. I mean, that's sad. It's really sad. And again, like I said, they're raking their fans over the coals when it comes to price points, where I'm gonna have to start picking and choosing. I don't know. Like I said, I'm all in for the Joes, but I don't know how much longer I can, pick up these ones with just the art. I mean, at least they put art on the box and then a picture of the figure in the corner. It's a little bit more nicer looking. I guess another quick sidetrack here is, the convention exclusives. So the convention exclusives don't really use the plastic windows either. So I have Dr. Mindbender, and I do have Snaky Dude. Serpentor. And it's kind of nice where the box is kind of displayable as it is. It's gatefolded. You can open it up. They're nicely displayed. They're cut out. I think you can just reach in and pull them right out. I know like the other exclusive that I have, which we did on camera it's on YouTube's, is the I guess it's the, I think I call him Regal Cobra Commander, but I don't think he's Regal Cobra Commander. I think that's a different character. But he's got the nice cape and he's got extra pieces of equipment. And he's the same way. Like I believe like the box gate folds open and you can just pull him right out. You can pull him out, you can display him, you can take your pictures, and then you pop him back in, which is kind of nice. But I understand also on a retailer kind of perspective, you can't do that. I mean, you can't. Obviously, I just said with the Transformers, you can't do that because people are just ripping the boxes open. So with these kind of characters, I get it. You're not going to be able to do that. I mean, or if you do it, it's online only. I mean, I did see somebody make a comment where people were complaining about the windowless boxes. And they're like, oh, you complain about, one of the comments on there was like, oh, you complain about windowless boxes, but then you buy everything online. So when you buy everything online, it's sight unseen anyway. So it's not like you're going to the store and buying it, picking it off the pegs. So, I mean, maybe that's I don't know. I don't know if I want to specifically only ever buy from Hasbro or whatever for the rest of my life in pituitary gland, just to not have to deal with the windows. I mean, the exclusive stuff is kind of a nice little subsect. The other thing that kind of bothers me is that I kind of like, I'd like how, like, traditionally, like, if you put the line together, they all kind of look the same. And then all of a sudden, they change the line, and now the line, like it next to each other, it no longer looks the same. It's drastically different. Again, I don't know what that says about me, but that's my rant. That's my rant for the last half hour. I would like to know what your thoughts are. Do you like the windowless package? Do you like the non-windowless package? Comment your comments wherever you can comment, and I will see you soon. I will talk to your ear next week.